So on the 2nd of July, we get the rematch between Chris Eubanks and Liam Smith. A rematch that, personally, I don't think was really needed. However, if you like controversy, if you believe there's a story to tell, then you may think this fight is worthy. The controversy and the story I'm talking about is, if you look online, if you watch people on YouTube like myself and XYZ, elbow gate. Everyone seems to think Chris got hit with an elbow. I'm not sold on that. You can't see, there's no clear evidence of an elbow. You can see the welt under the eye, but in exchanges, let's be honest, this is boxing, you're throwing hands. There are occasions when people do get caught with elbows or not. I'm not saying Eubank did, or I'm not saying he didn't, I don't know. What I do know for a fact though, is that Eubank was knocked out. After the first knockdown, he was off his feet, he couldn't walk straight, he couldn't stand still, he was totally gone. The referee could have stopped the fight there and then. He let it continue, that's on the referee, and then he stopped the fight straight after. Eubank went over again, but he was knocked out. Normally, in my opinion, when you have a fight where someone gets knocked out in the 4th round, again, depends how you score a fight, in a fight that was, there's nothing much more to it, he got caught, he got knocked out. And the rematch is not really needed. Again, a lot of pro-Eubank people think Eubank was winning the fight 3 rounds to zip. Eubank believes he was winning the rounds 3 rounds to zip. I didn't have it 3 rounds to zip. I thought it was a much closer fight. But again, scoring subjective. It is what you feel or what you like about a fighter or a style or what they're doing that sways your scoring. But generally, when you look at ring generalship, effective punching, effective aggression, you're looking at the balance of the fight. I think it was a much closer fight. I don't think it was 3 rounds to zip by no shadow of a doubt. I don't want to make this video a Eubank video, but it is going to be a Eubank video. And here's the reason why. We know Liam Smith. We know the family, know what he brings to the table. He's a former world champion. I've always been a fan of Liam Smith. I was a fan of Liam Smith before Liam Smith got his world title. I've always been a good fan of him. I think he's a solid, hard-working pro. I think he's very underrated and he doesn't get the respect or love from the sport in the UK or in the boxing as general. He's a very, very good fighter. You ain't going to hear me say nothing bad about Liam. I think he's a tremendous fighter. Eubank's another story. Let's go back to the knockout first of all. In my opinion, Eubank got knocked out from his lack of ring IQ. When you talk about pressure and putting it on someone, normally someone's walking forward, pushing the fight, using the jab to try and lead someone into a corner. Before the knockout, it was at the beginning of the 4th round, Eubank and Liam were kind of posturing off. Liam was there with a high guard. Yeah, wasn't really throwing much, just reading what Eubank is doing. Eubank was throwing shots out of range and slowly backpedaling. Smith wasn't really throwing much shots back at him. Eubank could have went left, he could have went right. He could have went forward and used the jab and kind of pressure forward, but he was comfortable backpedaling and trying to lead Liam on. While leading Liam on, he's actually put himself into the ropes, into the corner. That's poor ring IQ. So, I'm in the boxing club every Sunday. Yeah, in the boxing club every Sunday, there's kids in there from say 13, 14 up to grown men. Everyone's training. I'm always watching the sparring, always looking in, see what's going on. Me and the coaches at the gym get along really, really well. They're actually friends of mine, so you know it's great to be in that environment. And the thing I hear every Sunday is, get off the ropes, get off the ropes. Why are you leading to the ropes? Get off the ropes. But Eubank went to the ropes. And this is why I said the lack of ring IQ, where he's making the decision to go to the ropes. Bad move. And that's what caused his knockout, because he had the options to move left, right, or forward. He chose backwards. This is not the first time that I've watched Eubank and his ring IQ surprises me, where yes, he's an experienced fighter. I'm not going to go say like, oh, I know better what you should do. And what. No, I understand his experience. But when you look at that elite level of fighting, that's what lets him down, is his decision making. It came up in the Groves fight, it came up in the Billy Joe fight. It's the decision making which it just doesn't make sense. Even in his fights, he always throws big uppercuts, always out of range. When they land, they're effective, but a lot of times they miss because he's throwing it with no jab, he's too far away, and he's banking the person leading in onto him. I don't get it. I mean, Eubank has a Eubank is a tremendous athlete. That's what he is. He's a tremendous athlete. He has great hand-eye coordination, great speed, great reflexes. He's extremely disciplined. I don't need to go into the whole Conor Benn weight cutting scenario. He is extremely disciplined. If he chose to do any sport in the world, he'll be good at any sport. He's a great athlete. And to me, that's his problem. Because he's a great athlete, he lacks the certain fundamentals and the certain upbringing that fighters have. I know Chris Senior's talked about back in the day, he took him to this place in Cuba, and he done this and he done that, and he went ABAs and all, the Golden Gloves and all. But Eubank wouldn't have got the same treatment as a fighter coming up as because his boxing royalty, the son of boxing royalty, especially in the UK, is different. Eubank is such a good athlete. He could watch tremendous athletes like the likes of Roy Jones, who was one of his trainers, and see what they do and want to emulate that. It doesn't work that way. If you watch Roy in the amateurs, he didn't box the way he boxed as a pro, as a light heavyweight, or as a middleweight, or like super middleweight. When you watch Roy coming up, he didn't have all that flash. He had solid boxing fundamentals, and as he grew, as he gained experience, as his style evolved over time, we got the hands down, the flashiness, the confidence, X, Y, Z. Eubank is trying to do that from when he started pro, when he turned pro. Like, again, very flashy, things that you would not do, he's tried to do. There are freak athletes in the world where you have a once-in-a-lifetime type ability that just can't be matched. Take away the technical abilities in any sport. I'm talking about just that freak athlete type ability. Roy Jones was one of them. Anyone watched Roy Jones, what he done was, in his prime, was unbelievable. Like, it's not really... Watching Roy Jones as an athlete, you could tell he was a different generation to other athletes. Brock Lesnar, the WWE and former UFC champion. Yes, we all know he's been popped for steroids or whatever, but 300-pound men don't sprint the way or move the way he moves, or have vertical leaps the way he moves. There's a few of them out there, like Herschel Walker, again. What's my man from America from the 80s? Bo. Yeah. Bo, no, but remember at the average, Bo, no, Diddley. Can't remember the guy's name now, but he played baseball, and he also played American football. Again, just different level athletes. I'll find his name somewhere. Eubank's not one of those type of athletes. He's not a different level athlete. He's a very good athlete. He's a great athlete. He's not different level athlete. Because he fights with that athletic style, he's lacked and messed up certain things. And now, as a fighter, he's lacking because he's never learnt the basic fundamentals of a fighter. And this has led into his training. We've all heard, Eubank says it himself, I train myself. I don't have a trainer. He's mostly blown through 3 or 4 trainers through his career. None of them really, besides Roy, no one really says nothing good or bad about him because they're not doing much. He dictates when he trains. He likes to train in the evening. He doesn't train in the morning. He does what he wants to do when he wants to do it. That's not a training camp. That's not how the basic rules of trainer and trainer and fighter work. The trainer should be delivering how we train and things we need to do. Eubank chooses what he wants to do. I've even heard Eubank say, "Oh, Ronnie Davies, or he can't hold patch for me. He can't this. He can't do that." So again, it hasn't helped. Early in his career, in between rounds, seeing him just stand opposite the ring and look at him and smile at him and turn his head at him like some subliminal conversation. Like, yes, it's entertaining, but in reality, it's not doing nothing. It's like you're not getting no tutoring. So training yourself, not really listening, how are you going to learn to get these skills? And as much as Roy Jones is a great fighter, and again, is a good trainer, I wouldn't say he's a great trainer, he's a good trainer. You chose Roy because you like Roy, you want to emulate Roy. It's not because Roy was the best guy for you. Now you've got Bomac, obviously Terence Crawford's trainer. And with the time, you only started training with him this week, and the fights in less than 4 weeks, there's nothing Bomac could really do. The one benefit Bomac could give you is solid advice between rounds. Like, if you real boxing fans that watch fights all the time and watch Terence Crawford over the years, we've all heard Bomac in the corner. We heard it this weekend, we've heard it fights before. Great solid advice. The thing about solid advice, it only works when you listen. And that seems to be Chris's problem, that he's not really listening. I like Chris. I've met Chris multiple times. I think he's a nice guy. I don't think the personality you see on TV is the personality in real life. I think he does put on a bit of a show. He's a genuinely nice guy. But just because you're a genuinely nice guy, it doesn't mean you could break the rules of boxing and be successful. Chris says he's a world champion. Chris has never been a world champion. The IBO does not count. Yes, it says it's a world championship belt. We don't recognize that. We don't know that. I know who the real world champion was. Liam Smith. He was a world champion. He won that belt fair and square. And he fought Canelo and lost the belt. He went 9 rounds with Canelo. There's a lot of fighters that wish they could go 9 rounds with Canelo. For my prediction for this fight, I have to go with what I know. And what I know is Eubank does not box well. He makes bad choices in the ring. And he's had no coach and likes to train himself. Liam, maybe on the slide. Maybe not in his physical prime no more. Maybe not even in his boxing prime. But Liam is a solid, hard worker who knows exactly how to control the pace and distance in the ring. Eubank will have his spots. He is faster. He is flashier. He will land certain shots and look really, really good. But I don't think he could do that consistently and sustain it without making mistakes throughout the fight. I don't think it'd be a washout for either one of them. I don't think Smith will just win hands down easy. Eubanks will fight. He will put the pressure on. If he's behind on points and he feels it, he will put the pressure on. I think Eubanks is naturally the bigger man, possibly naturally the stronger man. Obviously, Chris has been up to 168 before a couple of times. But I think Liam's going to edge it. I think Liam's going to take it on points. I don't expect a knockdown or a knockout. Chris would be smart to stay off the ropes. But yeah, I'm going for Liam Smith on points. Yeah, Liam Smith on points is my decision. And yeah, I think it's always good to go what you know. And I think that Liam is the better boxer. And in a boxing match, being a good athlete will only carry you so far. Having the right fundamental skills will always carry you far. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.